I can't see you. Oh, there you go. Welcome to Nothing Live. We have very, very special guest, Kenneth Madden. Hi,
special.
Kenneth. Very special. Kenneth is going to do it.
Very not special.
Very not special. Very not special, Kenneth Madden. We have Kenneth for 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. We'll see. We're going to ask Kenneth to do an introduction first. If you have any questions, you can ask a question via Zoom. There's a link if you want to join the Zoom. You also can ask questions on Facebook. You can also ask questions on YouTube, and then I can read it for them. You can raise your hand if you like, but go ahead, Kenneth.
Okay, go ahead, Kenneth. So there's a communication that is nobody's communication. It doesn't belong to anybody, and it's from no thing. And it's essentially, it's very simple, ordinary suggestion that what you're looking for, or what is being looked for, is nothing other than what's appearing to happen. And that sense you have of feeling like a separate individual person that's in the body, that has a life, is artificial. And that is it's that sense of feeling separate that results in a yearning for something you can't quite put your finger on, and that the person, the individual, is striving always to gain something, some experience, some state of mind, some sort of wealth, some sort of, always trying to get something. And in the understanding or the feeling that will somehow make them complete or get them there. And what's being suggested here is that there is nowhere to get to. There is nothing to get. And all of these endeavors to fill the sense of self are completely and beautifully futile, because in actuality, there is no self there. So what's looked for is in fact what appears to be happening, which is nothing, and being everything, and everything being nothing. So that's shared from no thing, without agenda. It's nobody's message, and it resonates as it resonates, and sometimes it can resonate very strongly. It has nothing to do with understanding or knowing, and it's yeah, that's it really. So really, I think the vibrancy or the energy to the communication is in the sharing of it, because it's nothing to do with understanding or knowing. It's very much the sharing, the energetic sharing, and in that sharing, questions appear to arise, and those questions can never be wrong or silly or inappropriate. Well, they could be, I suppose, if they're totally off topic, but if it's a genuine question, it's not about being right or wrong. It's there to be shared, and it's not that there's an answer to the question. It's just that there's an energy to sharing it, and that's what happens with the communication. It's shared, and there's kind of it resonates, and there's some sort of engagement with it, and it's then either totally rejected, and is normally, when someone kind of comes across it, it's instantly almost rejected as nonsense or whatever. Or else if it's engaged with, it can be kind of engaged with by the person and turned into something else, which is very common too. And that's just what's happening. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it's heard, or there's no agenda with it. But it also resonates, and it seems to be resonating more. Yeah, so that's it really. So if anyone has any questions there.
There's a question here from William. Go ahead, William, and unmute yourself.
Hi, Emerson and Kenneth. What I've been reflecting on over the last sort of day or two is, at least in my case, the extent to which the me will just use anything and anyone to get what it wants. And I'm not sure exactly what the question is, because I know that the minute you feel separate, there's a sense of lack, and there's just that need to fulfill that lack, and that's all the me can do. But I'm desperate to. It's what it is I think I'm just seeing very clearly, like the extent to which I'll manipulate and use anyone to get what I want from them, and I'm absolutely disgusted by it, but I can't do anything to stop it at the same time.
Mm.
And there's not so much a question. I just wonder if you could say anything about that.
So you feel the character there feels that they're manipulating other people to get what they want. Is that
Well,
the gist of what you
obviously,
said?
yeah, it's been throughout as long as I can remember in my life. I just didn't realize. I thought I was this really good, nice, honest, lovely person. At least that's the narrative I was telling myself. But I will tell anyone any lie, whatever I need to do to get what I want from them. And I don't think it's nice for me to be using other people. And I know that's a part of the function of the me, is that whatever it's seeking, it just needs to feel that sense of lack. So I get that. But even telling myself that doesn't make myself feel better about those kind of behaviors that are coming from the me. And I guess the assumption as well that I have is that if the sense of self was to collapse, then no longer be those kind of manipulative behaviors of trying to use people.
Yeah, there may not be, but I think what happens there a lot of the time is there's this in the story of what's going on in your life, there's a sense that there's all this stuff that you don't like, and that all of that would fall away if I wasn't there anymore. And it's very much just this narrative that keeps going about when I fall away, maybe this won't happen and that won't happen, and it all tends to be the kind of the distasteful and uncomfortable stuff. And really that's all just what the person does, is that they pull in pleasure and they push away pain, and they pull in things that fit their narrative or their story, and they reject things that they're not comfortable with. And really what's been looked for all the time is just what appears to be happening as it is, just as it is. So whatever's arising is already it. So, the sense that that's just a narrative that's going there, and the sense that then things will be better if this, if that, is all just part of that loop of me. Now, very well may be the case that, there may be less agenda if the me was not to be there, but that's just, you're turning it into kind of this ideal state that basically there'd be a better William if this sense of being an individual William wouldn't be there anymore. It's just all a concept.
Okay, thanks. I don't really have anything to ask you in regards to what you've said.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, William.
I've got a follow-up question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just part and parcel of all me's? Is that because I've heard you say when I've watched things on YouTube before that that thing of, oh, conquer you will be conquered by you. And is that part of the structure of all me's, is that they will, like you said, relationships are just a meeting of needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute you feel separate, you feel a need, something's missing, I need to get something. And so anyone who feels separate is trying to use people to get more of whatever they think they need.
Yeah, it's just an observation of the way the way people interact with each other. Yeah, there is a bit of an echo there. Anyway, it's gone again. Yeah, so that's the way people interact with each other, is generally there's a sense of, like, it's a very simplistic way of saying it, but it's generally a sense of, like, you're either of some kind of use to me or you're a kind of a threat to me. So instantly the person sees a separate person who can fall into one or the other categories, or maybe is in a neutral kind of, well, you're kind of inconsequential. And it's just a description of how a person who feels like a separate person meets what they think is another separate person, and what we take to be these interactions that are really happening. Because I'm a person, I'm really meeting this person, and then they can be used to me in this way, in the real thing that's my life, and they can really benefit my life, or they can really harm my life, or whatever. And it's just an observation of how actually we don't meet, or we don't see the other, because we see them as an object to our subject. And there's no judgment in that. It's just that it's what appears to happen. It's not right or wrong or anything. It's just what appears to happen. So it doesn't need to be like, the person would hear that and feels that, well, that needs to be fixed, and maybe then I'll be more open to being like, everything that's been said, if the person isn't being spoken to now, because the person can't hear what's being said, and if the person when is listening to it, will only really hear that, well, if that what you're saying there is, if I can be more this, then I'll be more open to falling away, or there'll be more of an openness to falling away, and then I won't be separate. But you're not there. You're not there to fall away even. There's nothing in that the person can use to in any way to do anything with. It's just an observation.
And so when you say I'm not even here to fall away,
yeah, you're not talking there now. You're just, there's nobody there. There's just body mind. There may be a sensation that there's somebody there. There's never anybody anywhere. There's just what's appeared to happen. So there's just talking, and when people talk, often they say, well, yeah, but I'm still a separate person. So that's often what you hear. But all that's seen here is just energy. There's no separate person in there. Obviously there isn't. So then what the person hears is, okay, that's great, but like, I haven't fallen away yet. Or they're continually trying to, say, oh, that's fine, but then as if treated as if there's something that can happen to this separate me, and then that me won't be there. And it's always out in the future. So maybe when I get this, or when this happens, or then that'll be, then there'll be no more me maybe, and then there'll only be oneness. But it's already oneness. This is already oneness. There's only oneness already. And that sense of being there as a separate person is artificial.
So in essence, because what I was going to ask, which sounds silly now after what you just said, is if the sense of separate person falls away or doesn't, and that's got nothing to do with me, if I'm not already there, what causes that? But really, you're saying nothing's there to fall away in the first place.
There's nobody talking right there now. There's just talking.
That
and
sounds...
there may be a sense of, whatever, there may be a contraction, there may be, that's what's appearing to happen.
When you say there's nobody there talking right now, that sounds ridiculous. Like, I can't, it sounds absurd to think there's no, like, I can't even.
There's a body, and there's a mind, there's a body mind, there's no person in that body mind. There's no separate individual. It's artificial. It's an artificial addition. So when that character talks, there's a sensation maybe that I'm talking. When that person puts up his hand, it's, well, that's my hand. I put up my hand. In the sense of being a person, there's this constant kind of sense that I'm there doing everything, or a constant addition of me to everything. And it's completely taken for granted that me is real and it's there. And the big joke is it's not there. It's never been there. It's energetic. It's an energetic contraction that feels absolutely real to the person. That's what makes this communication different to others, because other communications speak to somebody about not being separate. And I can show you how to not be separate. And I can show you the way to oneness. Whereas the more clear, uncompromising ones are very clearly can't see anybody to bring to oneness, because there's only oneness. And that's the resonance to the communication, is that you're being seen as nothing but energy already. You're seen as nothing but wholeness or aliveness or whatever words you want to use on it. And that can resonate. It's very obvious, simple and ordinary, but it's totally beyond understanding. You know, the character there comes at it from an understanding intellectual perspective and with all these questions, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's not going to be an answer to any of these things that the mind will be able to retain, you know, and know.
I definitely feel the energetic resonance, even though, I mean, I agree with some of the things, but some of it sounds absurd, but not the intellectual stuff aside, I do feel the resonance when you're talking.
Yeah, there's a resonance there. It's not you that's feeling it, it's just being felt. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the character. What's been said is nothing to do with the me or what the way the me thinks they are or they aren't or whatever.
One of the things that I thought of when you said there's nobody speaking here, what I thought is if somebody, like say somebody you knew called your name Kenneth, the body would respond to that and answer hi or whatever.
That doesn't require anybody. You see, the person thinks that all of the things that function require me to do them, all the functioning of the body. So if I walk out and a car comes and I turn and the car beeps, there's a natural jumping out of the way. Then the person thinks, well, I jumped out of the way. You know, they add themselves to everything. But that's the big joke, is there's nobody there doing anything. There's just apparent reactions.
So the body just responds on its own sort of naturally.
Yeah, there's just an apparent response to apparent stimuli. That's the way it is.
But then there's
the person feels that that's actually a real thing that's happening in time and space. But that element of it, like another way of saying it would be that it's real and unreal. Everything is real and unreal, and that the real, but the person is only in the real. Like the person feels absolutely real, and everything is absolutely happening to me in a real life, and I have a life and all of that. And that's a very dissatisfying perception, because nothing is not seen. So that's that kind of half alive element of feeling like a person, that something feels missing, because I'm only seeing objects, I'm only seeing things, and it's not actually how everything is.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask is, like, if somebody said to me, William, obviously the body would respond, but I would also feel like I'm being addressed, they're talking about me. So does that sense drop of I'm being addressed, or this is about me?
Yeah, if someone said Kenneth, there's hello, there's just the Kenneth, the words Kenneth, and then there's yes, hello. There's no sense of somebody in here that they're speaking to.
That's what I understand. That's not something I can understand, is it?
No, of course not. No, none of this is understandable. It's totally beyond understanding. Like, I mean, if you feel if you think you've got it, then you're somebody who's got something. Then it's conceptual. It's so immediate what's sought. It's so immediately just boom. It's nothing and everything already. It's already just, it's over before it even began. So it's not even in time. But it's not understandable. It's the person who understands. It's the person in that closed loop of knowing that lives in their own closed loop of knowing. That's what that person is. The person is that closed loop of knowing. And actually what's looked for is beyond knowing and understanding.
Thank you. It's nice to hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you, William. We have a question. I'll get to you, Heidi, but I have a question here from YouTube. This is from Lolo. It's such a strange feeling how drawn I have been to Kenneth. Cannot explain it. Nor is there any wanting to explain it. Do you want to comment on that, Kenneth?
It's a very common thing. Yeah. No, I'm just joking. It's just a resonance. It's nothing to do with Kenneth. It's nothing to do with any character who's communicating it. Like when this was first heard, there was all sorts of communications heard. If you going back, it doesn't matter really anyway, but X amount of years ago, and there was all of these people being listened to that were under the umbrella of non-duality. And then when the clear message communication was heard, which was the open secret, which was the first clear communication I had heard, the energy was just stunning and is not describable. The resonance was absolutely amazing, and it's totally impersonal. It was nothing to do with the character of Tony Parsons. It was clearly just a boundless, unknowable message that was completely impersonal, that resonated very strongly, in contrast to other messages who seemed to have, like, would have also said that they weren't teachers maybe or whatever, but energetically did not resonate at all anymore, especially when the clear one really resonated. So I suppose that's what occurs to say, is that there's the resonance is to do with the boundlessness of the communication. It's nothing to do with the character. And when it resonates, it's unmistakable. It's not and other communications don't come near it because they just fall very, very flat. And the reason they're falling flat is they're speaking to you, and they're speaking to you as an individual who can do something to not be separate in a very simplistic way, but that's kind of what's happening. And generally, if also in a simplistic way, that's kind of what's falls under the umbrella of non-duality. Most of it is actually not non-duality at all, because it's speaking to somebody. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Go ahead, Heidi, and then mute yourself.
Yes, it's done. I'm here.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Kenneth. Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. So it's great to be in here. It was so interesting. During William was talking and asking, first I had a feeling, I don't want to have this in my head. I was in resistance to what comes. But then I just started to listen into you both. And in the end, you said, it's just a resonance. Because my question was, I think I do not go so much over my head to understand this. My point is more, I try to catch it by emotions.
Okay.
It's a slight way to go with my emotions. I catch this emotion, I let it come up, and then it goes further and further with understanding of this emotion. And then suddenly I had the idea, this is also the person that tries to understand emotionally, not by head, but emotionally. And then you went on, why am I here with you now? Okay. And not with Tim or not with Tony or someone else. So the thing is, it is just a resonation. There is no person then. If there's the resonation, all is blown away. There is no Heidi that is listening to Kenneth.
Absolutely.
There's just a resonance.
You could not get a more impersonal message. Just excuse me, I have something to do here, but I'm absolutely.
Yeah, I see, but it's absolutely
I'm really
okay.
Sorry,
because
but no, I hear what you're saying, and I cannot convey how impersonal the message is. It's so completely impersonal and has nothing to do with the speaker or the way the character is or the apparent listener.
Yeah, because of that, it's possible to do two things together. Because it's one room, you can communicate here and here with me. It's all one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just what appears to be happening.
Just what happens.
It's just what's appearing to happen. So there's just talking now, and everything is actually very ordinary and obvious and open.
It is.
And it's the person that complicates everything with layers of complication. And it's this sense that, like, it's the same thing. So this is the paradox in it. It's the same speaking now and sitting on a chair is the same as if there was a person felt here that was sitting here and speaking and sitting on a chair and speaking. It's the exact same, but it's totally indescribably different also from when I feel I'm speaking and I feel I'm listening to you. And all of this is like an unnecessary artificial layer on what appears to be happening, which we take for totally for we goes unquestioned for the person.
So can I say then it's the contraction that just makes that that it is the movement of catching something. It's just a contraction, nothing else. It's not a person that makes that. It's like breathing.
No, it's not. No, it's nothing to do with the person. Yeah, it's just an energetic contraction. I've always said energetic contraction.
Okay.
And I think that's a nice way. I probably first heard that term probably with Tony in the Open Secret. I just think it's a lovely way of describing it, because it is a kind of a cellular contracted energy, embodied energy. It's not an idea, it's not a thought, it's not a concept in the mind. It's a really felt feeling of feeling separate. It's very real for the person. Like for the apparent person, it's absolutely real that there's a world out there and there's a me in here in this body, that there's life out there and I have a life. It's very real. It's absolutely real for the person. And it's real until it's not real. And then it's seen, it's so obvious that there is nobody in there, and there never was anybody. So that's why you'd frequently hear that people say, well, I didn't even fall away, or I didn't even die, or I didn't even, because I was just seen, I was never even there to begin with. And that feeling of being there felt real, it felt absolutely real. And I thought I had a life, I thought I had control, I thought there was time, I thought I was relating to people, all of that. And then it's just so obvious. There's just energy, there's just what appears to be happening. And then everything is clearly unknowable. It's not that there's any sense that anything can be known, because everything is not describable. It is and it isn't, because it's nothing and everything.
So you mean if I try to catch to understand, then I'm locked in again.
No, I wouldn't say that. You see, I couldn't say that there's, if you try to understand, then you're locked in again, because that would make you a real person that's locking yourself in. You see?
I see.
So it's not, if that was the case, then there would be something you could do that's right and something that you could do that's wrong. And it's not, that's not the way it is. It's actually that there's nobody there who can do something that's correct or do something that's incorrect. There's actually never anybody there. So already now there's no person there. So you can't actually, it's inescapable. What's looked for is totally inescapable and cannot be found ever, because it's already just, it's hiding by already being everything. So you are already unconditional love. You are already nothing, and nothing is boundless and is everything. And that's already it. It's already this. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to understand. There's no you can't approach this. You can't get closer to it.
And the contraction makes
the contraction is it then.
Makes it to the going on thinking, I want to understand this, I want to catch this. The contraction gives just these thoughts like a melody, like something that just happens then. Because of the contraction, I understand.
It apparently happens.
It happens apparently.
So that the contraction just plays out like it plays out, and it's not, from this perspective, it's not a real thing that can be affected in any way or affected by some communication. It can't be. There's no words or anything that it's there. It's apparently there till it isn't.
So the resonance can be on a people's thing, a person to a person, that makes a contraction that gives then a history, like something like that.
Well, it's just that in life, it appears to be that there's this sense that people feel that they are separate individuals. And in that story, it's reinforced all the time that I'm a person and you're a person. And if you were to go out and consult with people, that you will be told very clearly, absolutely, you are a person, you have choice. So this is the dream we're living in, is like a collective dream, that there are separate individuals and there is power, there's authority, there's time, there's space, there's consequence, there's endeavor, there's so on and so forth. There's cause and effect, and all of this feels completely real to the person. And then when there's that sense of a person is no longer, it's very clear for nobody that all of that is a dream. It's all a story. So there's no separation anywhere. And then in that, then someone says, well, I'm definitely separate. I'm definitely a person. I have control. then they're just, okay, that's what's happening then. That's great.
That's what's happening then. Yeah,
that's nice
great.
for you. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
See how that works out for you. And if you want to feel like you want to come back here, it won't be you that's coming back. But I mean, if that's fine, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I have both possibilities to stay in resonance or to be mine.
Well, who's gonna do either?
who's gonna decide?
Who's gonna stay in resonance and who's
so I take both together. I think this is the easiest way.
Well, that's what's happening there then. I mean, it's resonating. When it's resonating, and that's it. And that's fine, and nothing needs to be done with that. It's like from the personal perspective, as if it's resonating and I need to do something with that, or I need to, the person always gathers everything and feels they need to own it. So any resonance, the person kind of feels, I need to keep this now and integrate it into my life. And then that's just the energy of the person. Because it can't, how could it be kept? And what life would it be integrated into? And then everything is just free, right? Free to be,
I love this resonance. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's absolutely stunning. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Heidi. I have Marketa and Adam next, but before I do that, I have a question here from YouTube from First Personhood. Kenneth, what is your take on impermanence?
If there is only impermanence, because everything is no thing being everything. Sorry, I just done something there. I have to. So this is, the person feels as though they are a separate person, and there's a thing called time. And so there's things that are moving in time and are temporal, and there's permanence and impermanence. And that's a dualism that collapses when there's no longer a sense of being a person, because everything is nothing and nothing is everything. So it's, there's nothing that's permanent, or impermanent is another way of saying it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Marketa, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, Kenneth. Hello, Emerson. Hello. I would like to ask, so this separate sense of self is part of what appears to be happening? Is it like that?
It appears to be that people report that they're separate. Yeah.
And if I know it's a weird question, but if there was not any sense of separation found anywhere anymore, felt anywhere, would the nature of what appears to be happening be different, or would the things still happen the same way? Do you know what I mean?
It's not, no, everything is exactly as it is, because it's already, this is already wholeness now. This is already nothing being everything. It's already just this. So it's as it is. Life appears to be as it appeared before when you were separate, except that the indescribable difference is there's no longer anybody that it's happening to. So there could be a job. So for instance, there's a job and there's somebody is a bus driver. One day they feel that they're a bus driver and that the bus is being driven by them, and that nothing would happen without them driving the bus. It wouldn't. Then they wake up one day and they're not there anymore. It's seen that they're not there anymore, and there's just driving the bus. So it's the same bus route. It's the same. Everything's the same, and it's indescribably different because everything is new. Everything is new and unknown.
I understand that, but like what I mean it maybe in a broader sense, or I don't know if that's the way to say it. But sorry about this, but what does there is apparently like bad things happening. From the person's perception, there are things which would be better if they weren't happening, like, you know, let's say wars and killings and murders and stuff. Would that be the same if there was no, if nobody felt separate?
Nobody in the whole of apparent society in the world. Yeah, I've absolutely no idea. I mean, it's what appears to be happening. So that's what appears to be happening. Like, I mean, if I say that if there was a sudden falling away and there was only oneness, then there would be no war, no conflict, no anything. It's all a bit too kind of neat and tidy, and you know, that it's very convenient, and it also feeds into the person's sense that they want everything to be good and nothing bad to happen. So I have absolutely no idea what would appear to happen. A lot of what appears in the world, though, is out of that sense of separation, a sense of the political kind of nature to things, the judicial system that continually puts responsibility and cause and effect and all of this are all kind of structured or built on the sense of that there is a separate individual you who has responsibility for their life. So, you know, what would happen with that? Maybe it would collapse, I don't know. But it is as it is. There's already this is already unconditional love. This is already wholeness. And that expression of it is what's appearing to happen.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just that it seems that this separate sense of self is kind of affecting. I know it isn't, but it's affecting what we like apparently do and stuff. But yeah, thank you very much. Now I'm happy with the answer. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marketa. We have a question here from the chat. Oh, this is a comment. I love how clear your messages. This is from Yasmin, that boundlessness is palpable when everything is included. Also, the ones that say this is nonsense and then that is just what it seems to be happening. Fantastic. Let's go to Adam. Adam, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hi there, Kenneth.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. I just want to say I really appreciate the message. I really resonate with it. I feel like it gives me a lot of confidence, I guess, just because I used to feel this way as a kid. I used to look at my parents and say, you know, like, I know something inside me would say, they're just an appearance. Everything is just an appearance. And I knew as a kid there was nothing. I remember going to church and listening to all these stories, and inside I'm thinking, there's nothing. There's nothing, but it seems like there's something, you know? It's like I knew there was, like, everything was real and unreal. Like up until age like 10, 11, going to school, and there was nothing happening. So I was just like, I would stir stuff up to just make things seem more real, and like, you know, just in the reaction of like anger, like I didn't understand it, so it mimic like my parents or other people to and their behavior, and it would make the dream seem more real, you know. I remember the contraction coming on, and almost like this physical sense, and becoming stronger, making it feel like I'm more in my body. And of course, as I grew up, that went more and more away. The world just became more real. But at 20, I had this like awakening where I thought I was Christ, because I spent like 2 weeks in the mental hospital because I realized I'm everything. Like that was my perspective. And of course, I'm trying to explain this to people, and they're like, oh, well, you're clearly gone nuts, so we need to like take care of you. But here I am in the same position. I feel like I'm going nuts again because I don't feel like I'm in control. I understand there's like what's making this all happen. That's the confusing thing to me. Like who's driving the dream bus, like you say, right? Like
like Boris and Charles.
Yeah, so
documentary. I mean, there's nobody driving the dream bus. That's the thing. That's the whole point. It's only from the sense. First of all, this isn't happening. It's in the sense that it's from the perspective of the person that there's something happening. Yeah. You know, we're speaking now. You just spoke there. You know, for half a minute. Now I'm speaking. that perception that there's something happening in time and space is from the sense of being separate. And in actuality, this is nothing appearing to happen. And so that makes it absolutely beyond understanding. It's just, it's nothing and everything.
Yeah.
And then you see, there's nothing happening, and there's nobody, there is no authority or separate thing then that's making it happen, because it's not happening, and there's no other. There is no other. There's no higher, there's no lower, there's no other. There's just energy. And it's completely, totally and utterly beyond understanding. There's no possible way you can understand it. So when did that sense of separation just is no more, it's very clear that there's only what's appearing to happen. And it's not in it everything. No, the sense of thinking you can know what's happening or needing to know what's happening can collapses with that then, because that was all about the me that was trying to keep itself going and keep itself safe.
So any kind of pursuit on my part is I mean, to get this, I mean, obviously I can't get it, so why am I even like here? Like, what is
you're not though.
That's the frustrating thing, right? It's like I feel
I mean,
like I'm here.
Yeah, it's just there's just so right now there's just sitting on the couch, right? So they're just sitting on the couch and there's just talking and there's just listening and there's just, you know, you could go through all the things that kind of pour through the senses, and that's just what is it. There's nobody in there that any of this is happening to, and it's not even happening.
I've also I've also heard this described as like a falling away. Like I've had experiences in the past where, like, if I'm saying to myself, it's just a dream, as I'm going to sleep, I will start falling into into nothingness, into like oblivion. And I've also had this with my acupuncturist when I first met her. I remember going to bed that night and it just like death came. It felt like death creeping up my body, and it's just falling into nothing. Like there was just going to be no me anymore. It's that kind of like
that's I mean, that's like actually everybody dies every night, really, because when you go into deep sleep, there's nobody there, and in a way, the neurotic, contracted energy of being a me kind of takes a break. It's like a circuit cut off. And it's like, right, then you wake up in the morning and the switch is on again, and now we go again, and then it's off, and then it's on again. And so everybody actually dies every night because there's just deep sleep. So that's very much echoes that, and the only difference is that when on waking, that kind of energetically, that sense that I'm back again, just can sometimes just not be there then anymore. It's just that there's just getting out of bed, and there's going for a shower, and there's getting dressed, and there's just it's so ludicrously simple. You see, that's one of the key things about that's always expressed here. It's so ridiculously open and simple that the person is always overlooking it in favor of something else, because the energy of the person is to just be a person, and so what's being looked for all the time is not complicated and difficult and hard to get. It's actually the opposite. It's open and ordinary and already the case, and in that case, that's a brilliant way to appear to hide them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Adam. I have a few questions here from YouTube, and I'll get to you, Nikki. The question from David: could you say that there's no one to become liberated because there's only freedom, and that there's no awakening because there's only awakeness?
Yeah, absolutely. There is no awakening. There's no non-duality. There's no liberation. There's only just what appears. There's no communication. There's no message. There's just what appears to be happening. Absolutely, bang on. That's totally bang on. But in communicating like this, it's shared in a way that the person feels like a person, and in contrast to that sense of feeling like a separate person, we terms like awakening are used and liberation are used, but very frequently clarified that there is no awakening, there is no liberation, because there essentially is no separate person there to fall away either. It's all artificial. So there's only just what appears to be happening. We lost Emerson. I think we've just lost Emerson. There we go. Just like that, boom.
I am back.
Was that just a little trick just to kind of show what it's like? Just kind of, yeah.
That's right. That was a demonstration.
That was good. I
like
that.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Hello, Kenneth.
Hi, Nikki.
Sorry, my audio is really terrible because I've got this terribly old computer that sort of hums. I just wanted to say I've watched you lots of times on this little box, and I so enjoy your Nitta Natta.
Wow.
It's just so naturally beautiful. Here, I'm a granny and I live in Canada, just not too far from Emerson, actually. And now there's lots of Zoom chat groups and lots of this on. And it can become kind of like you're part of a group and you're chatting about this, but really chatting is just chatting. Yeah. And we're all this is this, and it's quite beautiful, and it's still a beautiful subject to just chat about, because there's lots of chatting about lots of things. So I just want to say, hey, it's great to hear you.
Oh,
and
lovely to
like
see
you're
you.
very prepared with your roses behind you.
Yeah, you were in Spanish to say echando flores. So you were echando flores at the beginning. You're saying you're very nice and you're very good. So thank you very much. That's lovely. Yeah, the flowers are from my lovely wife because it's Valentine's, and for once I'm a little bit prepared.
Oh, well done, well done.
Yeah, they're not the most amazing flowers, but I invested in the chocolates. I got the really good chocolates, so I think she'll be okay.
That's the way to do it.
I went heavy on the chocolates and light on the flowers, but
that's points. That's points.
Yeah, I'm learning. You know, the character learns. You know, but yeah, so they're there. I said it'd be nice to have them in the background. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, that's what's appearing to. There's lots of chatter around it, and it's lovely, and it is what it is, and there's no right or wrong with it, is the way. And there's nobody. I suppose one of the things to say about it is what's very liberating about it is there's nobody who knows anything. There's no authority. And that kind of differentiates it from other, like definitely certain kind of spiritual groups. You get this vibe of a hierarchy of, you know, I certainly remember when this character did some meditation way back. And I said, oh, I'm meditating. And then you meet these other people and they'd say, oh, how long are you meditating for? And you go, oh, maybe, I don't know, a few months or a year. And how long do you meditate? You know, I do, I don't know, an hour in the morning.
I'm an hour and 10 minutes.
How nice for you. How nice for you. Isn't that lovely? And you go, well, wow, aren't you a fucking asshole? Like, what's going on there? So there's in contrast, I suppose what I'm saying is in contrast to that, it's a boundless communication that there's no authority in, which is quite refreshing. So nobody has anything, or there's nothing to know, or
and that it's just regular, normal. You know, it's normal. Like make a cup of tea, doing this, doing that. I think here just don't know how no one knows that you are as you are, as you're doing, as you're not
Yeah,
doing,
absolutely.
and you're, like,
Yeah,
wow.
it's so obvious. That's the problem. It's too obvious.
Just
I
to, like,
spoke about
remind
that.
people it's nothing to.
It's nothing. There's nothing to get. No, we spoke on Sunday. We usually do a talk on a Sunday evening, and we came. Or no, it was Wednesday actually. We were talking about it. Someone was asking about Tony or something about Tony. But I remember a memory came up of when Tony was speaking, and when I first saw him years ago, and it was this sense of I wanted to stand up and say to everybody, "Can you not hear what he's saying?
Yeah.
Did you not hear? Like, he has told you maybe 100 times that he doesn't know anything, and you keep talking to him, and you think he knows something, but he's told you, and you're not listening to him." And
Yeah.
I remember kind of continually looking back at people going, "You're not hearing what he's saying," It was amazing. Yeah.
But is that a feeling or something that sometimes when someone's talking, they're thinking when that person's talking. So the talking and the thinking and the just listening isn't in sync or something.
It's just that it's energetic. It's all energetic. So when this is shared, a clear message is shared, it's totally energetic and it's just heard as it's heard. Yes. So the person, it's never said to the person. So the person isn't addressed. The person isn't acknowledged. And when the person it feels like an individual person, they always feel as if somebody else is speaking to them. And so they're looking at, because they live in this subject-object dynamic where they feel like subject and everyone is an object, they cannot get rid of this sense that there's somebody over there who must know something, and I need to get something from them. And then that just it continues like that until it doesn't. And it just resonates like it resonates.
Yes.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter actually, like it's not of no importance at all. Like someone could come on a Zoom here or at a meeting and say, very much here, not hear anything that's said, or want to argue with what's said, and that's just unconditional love. That's just energy. Beautiful. That's just what's happening. So the sense of being a person and an individual just plays out as it plays out, and it's of no significance or consequence. And then on the physical death of the person, obviously there's a release from that sense that there was an individual there. So there's nothing but liberation, and it's guaranteed anyway.
Yes, it's natural. It's just natural.
It's so natural, yeah. It's very, very natural.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So thank you for your talk.
Thanks.
It's been really nice. With this,
lovely to speak to you. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely
to speak to you.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Nikki. Bye. Thank you, Nikki. Darius, you're up next, and I'm going to read some questions after Darius, and then Sultan after. Go ahead, Darius.
Emerson, could you just wait 1 second?
No problem.
I just want to get a drink of water, okay?
For sure.
I will be like 1 minute.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, 1 second.
I'm just going to read some stuff here that people wrote, if that's okay. Mark wrote, "All there is what is. It is all one. We are everybody, everything, and everywhere are all at once. What that is a mystery. It's not a thing, not a something, no thing or nothing. And yet it appears as everything. No one can get it or get closer to it or further away from it because we are it." Just a couple of comments here. And Yasmin wrote down, I already read that. We're just waiting for Kenneth right now. Hi, Yasmin, I can see you. And then Darius is next. I'm just doing some ad lib here because we're waiting for Kenneth for some water. We'll just spend some silence.
We can also chatting.
And then Heidi just appears from nowhere.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
That's right.
So
Shall we all just unmute ourselves now?
Oh, there you are,
Yes,
Yasmin.
that's it. Yeah, I want that.
That's perfect.
It's a party now.
Let's chattel. Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's great. Oh,
We could have
Emerson,
a
you've clearly
ceremony
lost
today.
control.
hi, Nikki. Hi.
It's anarchy. Sorry, Kenneth.
It's
Pure
not,
anarchy. You've lost total control of the meeting.
it's nothing interaction with itself.
All right, go ahead, Darius.
Hi, Kenneth. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
Darius, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Good, thanks.
I'm new to Zoom, and I'm in Scotland now. Been living here for 20 years. Listened to your message for quite a while. Listen also to the message of Tony and Jim Newman. And what struck me one day that, as you mentioned, that nothingness is everything and nothing simultaneously. I've been a seaman for many years, and I have plenty of time to think once on board and going for quite long trips. And one day I just sat and how to say that disappearance appeared. One moment I was there, but felt like wasn't there either.
Yeah.
So I understand that even having that conversation is actually pointless, but let's have it anyhow. You know, I mean,
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Like, I mean, it's not.
Why not?
But,
that's what I say.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm just talking to nothing, and nothing replies.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
nothing expresses itself in multiplicity of forms. So basically, there's nothing wrong. If I ask the question, I'm looking at the wall, I'm looking at you, and just basically, it's nothing. It's nothing looking at itself. Is that correct? That
I mean, there is only nothing, or energy, you could say, is another nice way of putting it. That, like, as a person, you live in the real, so you feel like you are real. So you're sitting on a chair, you're speaking, blah, 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 and you're looking at other things that are real. In actuality, there's only energy. So there's only like energy sharing, energy dooring, and it's all empty. Everything is completely empty because it's nothing being everything. But as a person, you feel that it's something. So there's a living in the real as someone who sees something. And that's a very dissatisfying perception. And all the while there is that perception, there's a yearning for wholeness, because it's a sense that something's been lost. And
so basically what happens, my brain expresses itself by conditioning. The nothing creates everything, creates my body, creates my mind, creates my brain, and basically pretends me at this point.
Artificial.
So,
it's artificial.
yeah. So my inheritance, my past, who I am just now, was created basically by events. I'm just like sometimes I imagine this like a snowball. When you put the snowball on the slope and let it go, it just, each ball will appear in totally different forms at the end of the slope, getting down, you know what I mean? So I basically bounce, because I'm originally come from Poland and ended in Scotland. So I'm like a mixture, you know what I mean? And but it's not real me. It never been
story.
me.
It's a story.
That's what I say.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a story. Whereas for the person, it's not a story. It's real. Yeah, and that's the difference then.
That's unbelievable. And
it's amazing. It's stunning.
It's like brain sees that. I can't even sometimes refer to myself as Darius. It's I do it because I do it. It's just is this the reality? It is and it is not. It's both.
It is
like
and it
Jim
isn't.
says.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Everything is and isn't. But the person only sees.
That's right.
The person only sees the is thing, because they only live in the is, and they only live in the real, and it's completely isn't. And for the person, because the person feels separate, that the person is the dualism of it's real or it's unreal. It's in that play of opposites. So if it is either real or it's unreal, it can't be both for the person. because that's totally beyond understanding. In an actuality, it is, everything is and isn't. And that you cannot understand that. That's not understandable. So that's I've always liked to say, to describe it like that, because I always felt that it always struck me from early on that the person lives in this dichotomous world of it being one or the other. Whereas
even the words, even the thoughts, everything which apparently appears in me and the questions is just nothing asking the questions.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Everything is out of
it's not really me asking you a question.
No, it's not at all. Of course not. It's nothing.
It's just
nothing.
If I correct, it's just playing and enjoying itself in multiplicity of form. Just one thing which basically enjoys itself in so many forms, but pretends that is somebody as well.
You could say that, but it starts to become a bit of a story then as well, because the person kind of feels that that's like oneness is doing
it's
something.
just basically my brain trying to make sense of that. It will be trying probably to the end till I die. And as you mentioned, at the end, when everything stops, the brain stops, what is actually left and clear is everything.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Nobody dies actually, because nobody was born to begin with. There's just the body-mind organism that functions, and then whilst it's functioning, there tends to be a sense that there's somebody in there, and there's this sense of separateness that gives birth to a self-consciousness and an awareness, which has this imbues energetically the person with a sense of specialness other than what's in objects and animals story. And the world, and then that's the special story of me. No matter how that story is, it could be that the me is a success or the me is a disaster, but it's still a story of me that feels completely real. And all the while it feels real, there's a constant invitation that it's just this. It's just this. It's just like opening a door. There's just opening a door. There's just driving the car. There's just whatever there is.
Yes, and whatever appears. If you are unhappy of something and you are stressed, you're just stressed.
Yeah,
if you're happy, you're just happy, and these things doesn't really require any comments and
no, they
discussion.
Don't. No, it's the person. When the person feels that there's stress, the difference is, well, there's stress. Well, that's my stress, and I'm stressed, and I need to then do something about it. Yes. And then that's when all the problems start. Or unhappiness. Say generally, happy. The person is happy with happy. But if there's unhappiness,
that's right.
If it's unhappiness, then that's a problem. So I don't want to be unhappy. It's my unhappiness. I need to understand it. And then, whereas if there's a sense, not maybe even unhappy is a not so good a term, because that kind of infers somebody who's in a state, but say there's a sense of pain or something uncomfortable, then there is only that. There is only that. So if it's pain, there's only pain, and what would be wrong with pain?
Yeah. And we actually doesn't own anything. I don't own actually anything. Even my language.
How could you?
Even a language was given to this body, understanding every feeling, religion, how I taste things. I was observing my parents. I take my brain is basically loaded with all that stuff. Even question of God is given to me. I'm asking about God because somebody was talking about it, and my body, when it was growing up, just picked it up. My brain is like a tape recorder, nothing else. Yeah. I'm just replying from the tape recorder. You asking the question is just jiggling in the brain, finding the answer and just answering back to you. And shortly thereafter, kicks in the personalities. Oh, I said that. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. And that's it can be seen that it's not my brain. So it's just brain. So
it's just brain talking to the brain.
Yeah, there's not even my brain. There's not my anything. And it's very, very simple. It's just what's appeared to happen.
Yeah, and there's no
hope. It's stunning. It's beautiful. That's the liberation. Then there's only then living in the unknowing for nobody. There's the newness is very obvious then, because everything is always new. Because it's new because it's not happening in time. It's there and simultaneously not there.
It's
It's
not
real
there.
and not there and not real.
Yes.
And then that dichotomy of life and death collapses because I'm not there to have a life. And there's clearly no thing called life and another thing called death. They're not two different things. And
They're
so
not
there's
different
only,
things.
and then that's why there's no birth or death. There's just what's appeared to happen. And it's
yeah. So basically one thing, if I can call that, of course it's not even thing, it's even this, it's just expressing itself so in multiplicity of form and things. You can't, basically brain can't comprehend that, and it just stops at some point. And it's just wow. Thanks very much, Kenneth.
Well,
it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Lovely to speak to you, yeah.
I hope I managed to, when I'm back from my next trip, I managed to get on Zoom, talk to you a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I give the chance to
we'll see what apparently happens, yeah.
Oh, whatever happens.
You see, that's the thing. That's one of the things that is different about this communication too, is that because it's not speaking to anybody it's not recognizing an individual, there's nowhere to get to. So then people, as opposed to other messages, people say, oh, well, I will log on to your Zoom on Sunday and I'll join your residential. And then the response is, well, we'll see what happens, because maybe that will appear to happen or it won't, but you won't be doing it and you won't be not doing it. So
no, but as Tony says, there are two realities to that. Is that reality that we think we are here, and that real reality, which basically the nothing expresses itself and thinks that it's here and is doing this, but actually there's nobody here. That's funny. Okay, I give a chance to somebody else to talk. Thanks very much, Kenneth.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Darius. Thank you. I'll get to you, Sultan, but I have a couple of questions here from YouTube. There's actually tons of questions on YouTube. This one is from Christina. Oh, no, this is from Adam Watson. If a lot of the structures of society come out of separation, how can separation, which doesn't actually exist, be causal?
There is no causal. What I was really saying was the things that appear in society are reflective of the sense that there is a separate person. So what the question was, what would happen if there is already nobody, but if that sense of being separate was no longer even arose? And the answer was, I don't know. I have no idea. But that some of those things we see they're not bad or good, but they seem to be whole of society is the whole of what we perceive of as society is speaking to a separate person and endeavoring to get you somewhere that is better in the future. That's the whole energy of it. Just an observation. Causal, it's not causal, because causal comes from, this is what's appearing to happen. That's what's being said here, is that it's not actually happening. It's an appearance, and everything is an appearance out of nothing. So causal is what comes out of that sense of being separate, cause and effect, that one thing causes another in that reality that I'm real and you're real and this is actually happening. So there's very much that lived sense that one thing has led to another thing, has led to another thing, has led to another thing. And the person feels a lived sense of being in that causal reality, that I answered an email, I'm now on a Zoom hosted by Emerson because I saw that email, because I signed up to Nothing FM or I signed up to Kenneth, and whatever it is, it's like it's always causal in nature, because it's that sense of moving through time forward for the person. But when the person there's no longer a sense of being a person, causality also collapses, because there's nothing even happening. This is nothing being everything.
That's brilliant. I have another question here from Christina. How would you please comment on how energy transfer happens in meetings like this? Thanks.
It's not even an energy transfer. Like, I mean, the person would feel like it's an energy in, like there's energy and then there's my energy and there's an energy transfer. Like it's very like a Zen kind of notion of satori, that there's something is communicated and there's a resonance and there's a satori moment where there's a transfer of energy. That's not what's being said here. There's actually only energy. That's all there is energy, because there's energy is nothing being everything and everything being nothing. So the resonance of what's being said is not understandable or knowable or describable. It's just the only word I can think of using is a resonance, is because it's kind of pointing to that constricted, contracted kind of feeling that I'm a separate me. And then when there's a sharing like this and it's heard, there's this boundlessness to it that kind of, it just resonates, that's all. And it's yeah, that's not really describable. And it's interesting because it frequently resonates and is at the same time rejected or not wanted by the energy of being a person. So you get this very kind of, you can get this very strong draw to what's being said and a simultaneous kind of want to get away from what's being said. That's quite common. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sultan, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks. Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, Sultan.
Yeah, nice to
Sultan.
see you. Yeah, I was just wondering, when the me is no longer there, this character would be any different? Would it behave any differently? So looking from a different perspective, would it be any difference?
No, not at all. Not at all. It would be more Zoltan. More Zoltan is all. Because the character, you would say, like a character, like say if when Kenneth felt separate, there's this sense when you're a person that you're kind of too much of something and you're not enough of another thing. So there's a continual kind of working on yourself and a neurotic kind of sense of trying to refine yourself. And that neurosis falls away and there's just the character then, how that character is, the taste in food, the sense of humor, the way that they are, and all of it, whether it's kind of pleasant or unpleasant for other people, is just seen as, it's just wholeness, it's just a flavor to it. So there's nothing kind of constricting the character anymore, but it's not that the character changes or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. So I thought you would say that. So, but then because there are these personal thoughts and feelings that could relate to personal.
Well, there can be the neurosis of feeling like a person. The neurosis, the neurotic feeling of being like a person can largely just collapse. So the neurosis that would manifest itself in kind of maybe compulsive thoughts or different, you manifest itself differently in every apparent person, that can largely collapse. Yeah, but that's just an artificial thing that's layered on anyway.
Yeah, okay, but then you could still see it. You could, I mean, it could be visible, like, okay, it's more the genuine Kenneth now, or
yeah, maybe, yeah, that's what I was saying. The character is freed, a bit freer, because it's not being dampened down by this artificial layer. And whether that's perceivable by others or not doesn't matter, but it could be that there's a general kind of, there's a sense of ease can come into the body, and a sense of energetically more freer, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can see that, like if this character is talking or the other character, there are lots of characters, teachers, masters, and even in non-duality, and I think, like, whether they speak of clarity or not, I think you can sort of sense that. So I mean, what you're saying just confirms that maybe the character is more relaxed. That's the way.
Maybe, yeah. I always say to people, because people frequently ask me, like, well, what about all these people who are speaking? And first, obviously, there's no teacher. There's no such thing as a teacher. There's no such thing as a master, any of that. But my response is always really that it's an energetically, how do you feel? And how energetically, what's your sense of what's being said? Forget about the syntax and what energetically, what do you feel from the speaker? And if a clear message resonates, then it becomes very obvious that a clear message becomes very obvious and resonates very strongly, in contrast to a message from a character that is speaking to another person. What they perceive as another person is speaking to somebody, and energetically it feels very different. Even if that character, increasingly, those people would have described themselves as teachers and would have been prescriptive in their methodology to tell you to do something to get somewhere, like you should meditate and you will create this as readiness and then you will be one, or whatever way it's put. But nowadays it's very much more subtle, and there's a lot who are very clearly saying, I'm not a teacher and there's nothing on offer ostensibly, but when you energetically, you get a sense that there's somebody who knows something and they seem to be speaking to somebody. But it doesn't matter either. You know, some people get caught up in all of this, and I know there's a lot that talk about this character is uncompromising, this character isn't, and da. And really that's all just noise as well, because it doesn't matter. There's just all energy, you know.
Yeah. Okay. And just one more aspect. So like it's like guilt, satisfaction, anxiety. So there are those kind of things that are personal. I suppose it's, I mean, yeah, so everything is an illusion to a person, but that's like even more of a illusion.
There are aspects of being a person. Yeah, guilt is an aspect of feeling like you are somebody who has done something. Yeah. But there's lots of neurotic, there's lots of neurosis to being a person.
Yeah. So, but you had pain, for instance, like in the past couple of days sometime, but I suppose you just couldn't have any anxiety or guilt or
it's
whatever.
Just that there's just pain. Yeah. So the pain would be, the pain still arises, and it's maybe more painful because there's nobody there to dampen it or filter it, and there's pain. So then that's just what's happening. It's just pain then, because there's nothing that isn't it. Whereas for the person, there's things that are it and there's things that aren't. So pleasure, it's pleasure, but it's not the pain. So there's this kind of continual pulling in of one thing and rejecting of another.
I'm busy.
Okay, I'll wrap up warm then.
What? Yeah, wrap up warm.
There are more. So, okay. Thanks for that.
Do wrap up warm. It's chilly out there. Wherever you are. Maybe it isn't. Maybe you're in the Bahamas and it's balmy.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions and I'll get to William. The question is from Chris. Oh, no, this is from Jim. A question for an honest, direct answer. Does the sense of a separate self and separation actually stop seeming to happen? Or does it still happen, but it's just seen for what it is?
The sense of separation doesn't arise for anybody anymore. So there's nobody who feels separate. Anything can happen, absolutely anything, but there would no longer be a sense that, there'd be no longer a sense of someone to collect that. The example I've always given is confusion. There's a sense as a person, there's clarity, and then there's confusion, and then there's a seeing that there's the confusion is it. Or in this example, Kenneth's story was, there was a sense of oneness and there was no Kenneth, and then there was a sense of kind of Kenneth back again, wanting what was seen, and then there was this sense of not feeling like Kenneth and then feeling like Kenneth, that is frequently described as, I think most people now are calling it kind of mean and being, this dance of mean and being, very typical thing. And really then the only way I can describe it was that there was a yearning here for it to be seen, or to be for what was seen before, and it was seen by nobody that it was already the yearning. So when that, and then that, there's no, like, liberation is not some event that can be described, that in contrast to sometimes an awakening, which there also is no awakening, but it's sometimes more describable, because the reason it's more describable is it's in contrast to the sense of feeling like a person. So you feel like a person, absolutely, and then boom, there's just what appears to be, and then there's maybe feeling like a person again. then when there's that total sense of feeling like a person is no longer, it's a complete, total and utter non-event. It's having a cup of tea, it's whatever. It's not a thing that happens. It's not a happening. And in that, it's seeing there is no liberation. There's only whatever appears to happen. So anything can happen. A sense of contraction could happen, but it wouldn't. Gone is the sense that, oh, I now feel like I'm separate again, because there's nobody there to collect. That's about as clear as I can put it. Now, there's inherently in describing it that way, it's problematic, because it's as if the person always hears as, well, is there somebody or is there not somebody? And then there is somebody and then there isn't somebody, but then surely that person comes back or doesn't come back. So it's almost like a better way to describe it is a seeing that there is only what appears to happen. So it's not even that there is somebody or there isn't somebody, but it's just there's only what appears to be happening. It's another way of saying the same thing. Sorry. There you go.
Brilliant, brilliant. I have one more question. I'll get to you, William, and then M. Kutlova. The next question is from K.O. Watts. Is love and hate the same?
Yeah, all dualism just falls apart. And that you are the dualism. You are that play of opposites that emanates from you feeling like a separate person. Good, bad, love, hate, all of these things are just a play of opposites that just boom, and there's just energy then, there's just what appears to be happening. But I mean, that's obvious, that can even be obvious in as you feel like a person, you could see that if you truly love somebody, there's elements of hating them too. And that's just because it's two sides. People would frequently say it's two sides of the same coin, because obviously you can't have one without the other. So they're married together, you know, that's in that sense. But then when that sense of being separate is gone, there's just what appears to be happening.
Epic. Go ahead, William, unmute yourself.
Hiya. So I'm listening to you, Kenneth, and I'm really glad to be here, but this whole however long's gone on since I was talking to you, hour and a quarter or whatever, I've just been in a state of absolute terror and feel like I'm going to fall asleep 1 minute and then I feel like I'm going to vomit. And I just keep thinking, I
hope you're charging well for this, Emerson. This is good. This is like, I mean, no kind of horror movie would provide this kind of entertainment. This is great stuff. Like, why don't you have popcorn there?
I do.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a roller coaster, William. That's what's appearing to happen. That's what's appearing to happen. So if there's a sense of terror, it's already the terror. If there's a sense of anxiety, it's already the anxiety, because that's energy. That's what's continually being said here. What's looked for is always already what appears to be. The person feels, well, the fear can't be it. And when this is resolved, then I might be there. It's already that. It's just the heart's going, energy. It's already that.
And the thing is, I know that intellectually, so I've been saying to myself, well, it already is just this. So there's no point asking Kenneth about it, but...
Well, you're not asking me about it either. So that's just, you're not doing anything. You're not speaking there.
And so when you say that this, you haven't used the word story, but in terms of coming to this communication and talking to you, it plays out how it plays out the separation, whether it carries on until the end of the body or whether it falls away in a year, 2 years, however long it is. There's nothing I can do whatsoever to influence.
No, there's not. It's not that there's nothing you can do. It's that there's no you to do or not do. If it was that there was nothing you could do, that means there's a you there who could do something or who cannot do something.
So if the sense of being a separate person can apparently appear, and it could also apparently no longer appear, well, you've just said it, it has to be unreal to begin with. or just an appearance to begin with? Because otherwise, if it was real, it would need something to cause it to come into existence and cause it to fall away.
Yeah, there you go.
But the intellectual understanding doesn't help or give me any relief. I'll just keep listening and being terrified.
yeah, you're not listening either.
Thank you, though.
I mean, that's the thing about it. It's that there's nothing to get, there's nothing to understand, and there's also no way to go wrong. You can't possibly go wrong. You can't be missed. It can't be escaped. What's sought.
So when the person says I'm desperate to fall away, really that's just ultimately...
That's just them being a person, yeah. That's a really good way to stay as a person, is to engage with this thing called non-duality, which there is no such thing as non-duality, but to treat it like this thing called non-duality, and I'm desperate to fall away. So that just reaffirms that you're there. That's only just energetically just going around in the loop.
It is crazy because 1 minute there's just such an openness to this, and then it's like, well, obviously it is how Kenneth's and then the next minute it's like, well, it can't be that simple. Like,
well, then that's what's happening, and that's what's happening then. Whereas the mind would say, well, it's the former, not the latter. It's the obviousness, it's the openness, it's not the feeling shit scared of what's been said. Whereas if it's oneness, how would it not be? It's all that is appearing.
And then my mind goes, well, it's not fair because Kenneth died 13 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, but that's again, the root of that is back to in my mind. It's not who has a mind there, and who's died. There is no 13 years. Nobody's died. Nobody has anything. Like if it's if you hear this clearly from someone, they don't have anything that you don't. It's not.
What you're saying, because
I don't have anything. What would I have? What could I possibly have?
Well, you're saying nobody's died, so then I think to myself, so what you're saying is there's no one here suffering from separation. There's just an apparent sense of suffering.
What I'm saying is that the character there is saying as if something happened here, that there was a Kenneth who then died and now is it's as if he's in some sort of state or something, and I'm just an effort to elucidate that it's illuminate that that's not the case, that it's not something that's gotten here. It's right. Just, you could say that there's only aliveness, there's only boundlessness, is only energy, and then that some people have something. It's not that I have anything that other people don't, it's that they have something. They have an artificial thing that's not here. They have something, so it involves loss actually. All the while you feel like a person, you feel like there's something to get and that you're going to get it, and whether it's money, power, more sex, whatever it is, the thing that more a spiritual thing, whatever it is, you think you're going to get something that will fill this void. The big joke is that what's looked for is nothing. It's absence. It involves loss, an apparent loss, not attaining anything.
And so in regards to that, I'm thinking in my head, I'm jealous you've had a loss, but you haven't had a loss. Yeah, I know,
you've just turned it. It's just another way of turning it into something again. It's just another way of saying that I have something you don't.
Yeah, you've had a loss. There's no one there who's had a loss.
Yeah. There's just energy. There's just no thing being everything. They're just speaking now, and there's nobody over there and someone over here. Only apparently.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, William. I'll get to you, Heidi. I have a question here from Walter. Walter asks, without a knower, how can anything be known, such as everything is energy and other?
Everything isn't known. That's exactly the point, is that this isn't known here. It doesn't come from a sense of knowing. There's clear communication does not come from a person who knows something. It comes completely from nothing. So that's why it's boom. There's a question from nothing, is an answer from nothing. And that's it. It absolutely doesn't come from, I do not know anything. I'm not sitting here speaking from a bank of knowledge. And that's what energetically, this is a totally different communication. That's why it is boundless. And if I was speaking from somebody who knew something energetically, that's a totally different. Usually that's something teachers do. This isn't a teacher. There's nothing to teach.
Epic. Go ahead, Heidi. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, Kenneth.
Hi, Heidi.
Ah, I see you again. Hello again. So it's absolutely surprising for me, because my question or what I realized is there is something that comes back on a point all the time. So I'm here, you are there, and I have the idea you bring it back all the time into a point. But I can see at the same time it's not like that. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
It's not really describable, but it's not that I don't feel that I'm doing anything. That's the first thing about it. So it's not describable from this perspective. It's just that there's a passion for no thing, and that there seems to be questions that come, and then there seems to be answers that come, and it's that simple. One thing that's obvious about it is that because there's no individual recognized, and you are seen already as unconditional love or wholeness, there's a boundlessness to that, and that can resonate, but also confront that feels separate. And in that confrontation, that separateness feels, that sense of being separateness feels, it comes with an energy to ask questions and get something. And because this is unconditional love, that energy is not fed or recognized or met in any way. So the person continually hits a wall. And that's what differentiates. Maybe that's maybe what, when you say comes back to a point, maybe that could be what that's about, is that there's nothing on sale for the person.
Yeah.
And that's unconditional love. Whereas the person feels unconditional love is this lovely, nice thing of somebody really loving me and taking care of me and just seeing me for the beautiful person I am and pointing at, all this la-di-da stuff about unconditional love. Actually, that is interpersonal meeting of needs, and that's totally fine. There's nothing right or wrong with any of that. Needs are met from what appear as separate people, but the notion we have of unconditional love is nonsense compared to actual unconditional love. Is stunning. It is just the seeing that you are not a separate individual, you're not recognized as a separate individual, and you're seen as nothing but boundless unconditional love, boundless nothing.
So you mean when time by time I catch a teacher maybe, and there is a resonance, it's just then because I'm looking around.
Do you mean a teacher, like as in somebody who's offering something?
Yeah.
Because this is, as I said earlier, this is not a teaching. There's no teacher here. But if it's a different communication, that is a teaching, and that that's also energetic. But the energy there is like a loop into a feedback system of somebody says something, I can see that you feel unworthy, I can get you to wholeness. I'm obviously simplifying everything here, but energetically the person, the energy of being a person is drawn to that, therefore creating this dynamic of teacher-student, which then just plays out as a play. In actuality, there's no teacher, no student, but it feels very real that there is in that, and then that can just totally collapse then, and frequently does.
Same, nothing.
Yeah, it just collapses.
Yeah,
then it seems
yeah.
there's nothing to be. This is all. There's nothing.
Yeah,
you don't have anything
it's just
for me.
that's what happens. Yeah,
it's just what appears to happen. It's not right or wrong, but it's very much
Yeah.
feeding the energy of being a person.
Yeah.
And the energy of feeling like a person is not in any way does not find that confronting in any way. It goes there to be fed and to be. So this is why what's being said here, although it's simply, it's very ordinary. You're saying that this is, you are already unconditional love. You are already wholeness and boundless. But actually the person doesn't want what's being said here, and finds it very confronting because they can see that their absence is being illuminated and their sense of separation is not being fed. And that's therefore they go to the teacher who will feed them, and they feel very comfortable with, and therefore that they're the ones who have millions and millions and millions and millions of YouTube hits and big retreats that cost lots of money and everything because it's safe. It's cool. All very safe for the person. Whereas this is dangerous.
Yeah. This is almost in 30 seconds describing the whole world and how it works.
In a way, yeah. In a very dumbed down, simple way, kind of, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Heidi. I'll get to you, M. Kuntalova. I just have one comment here from Adam at the same time. Go ahead and mute yourself, Madam M. Kuntalova.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
Hi. Yeah, fine. How are you? Good?
Good.
Kenneth, I wanted to ask you, I just spoke with my friend and I tried to explain them what we are talking about. And I didn't know how to explain. So they asked me, for example, one of my friends, she has a problem with her husband. And that's a story. And she told me, I have problem because he doesn't care of my children. But this is only story what's happened. And for her, for person seems to be that there is cause and effect. You didn't help me because of, for example. Yeah. It's just story. And now when she will be without sense of I, the story will still continue. Maybe they divorce, maybe no.
Everything's the story would just still appear to continue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But is it still use even this apparently, but it still use the same words? For example, say you are crazy or you are, I don't know what. You know what I want to ask you? But when there is no you, you don't, no one it sees that it's continuing, or how to call. How it is seen if it's happened. Okay, the friends have a bad talk with her husband, everything, and now she will be without sense of I.
Yeah.
So what's happened for her? What's changed?
This is hypothetical.
That it seems that there is no one.
Does she not feel like anybody?
I don't mean actually.
Oh yeah, but maybe if she didn't feel like anybody, is it? If she didn't feel separate anymore, what would it be? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then it would just be the story then. There would just be the story, and it wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't feel real as it feels absolutely real if it feels like she's a person. So then if that sense of separation was no longer, then there would just be the story. So there would be the getting divorced, and there would be the divorce papers, and there would be all that was appearing to happen, and it would be seen that it could not be any other way, or it would be the, maybe not getting divorced and not the divorce paper, and whatever is appearing to happen with just the story. The point about it is, the content of the story no longer becomes terribly important, as it is with when you feel like a person. It's all about the content, and it's terribly important what's happening, because it's seen that this is nothing appearing to happen, and no matter whatever it is that's appearing to happen is already it, whether it's pain or pleasure or whatever.
Yeah, because I try a little bit to explain her, but usually people think that the behavior will change and that the story will change. And
no,
that's not nothing about behavior, you know, it's still story continue. It's only different that there is
if you're trying to, if people kind of get a hold of this and what's been said and try and apply it to somebody to get something, and they're not really hearing what's been said. You know, like this isn't like something like, you know, say for instance, something like mindfulness. The reason mindfulness was so popular and applied to everything was because it was a lovely little technique that fed the person and tapped into their sense of mind awareness, which just was, that's why it was ubiquitous, and it was mindfulness for kids and teachers and business people and everything. This is completely different to that. In that, if this is heard, it's very much seen that it is the most useless communication, because it can't be applied to your life, because you don't have a life to apply it to if you're really hearing what's being said.
Thank you. I even found it
can't be used to make something, a situation better or worse or whatever.
I can't speak about it because it's really very difficult. It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's totally impossible. It's totally impossible, and it's just heard as it's heard. So I mean, it's just and it's quite interesting when it comes up, because you could think, oh well, I've often heard people, well, I'm not going to say this to my friends anymore because there's no point. And then at your next thing, half an hour later, there's this big conversation about nothing. And I would say, well, of course, because it has nothing to do with you. It just will either a conversation will either appear to arise or it doesn't. And it's nonsensical, it's not logical, it's not anything. And it doesn't matter also. You know.
I have the same experience now. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a couple more questions here, Kenneth, from YouTube. This one is from First Personhood. Is all human interaction dualistic?
There is no human interaction in the sense that humans...
Can you post this still?
So the people interact from that sense of there being separation. So the interaction comes from the perception that there is separation. I'm separate and there are separate people over there, and it's only separate entities that interact and separate entities that relate to each other. So when there is no separation, it's just seeing there is no separation anywhere, and there's just energy, which is nothing and everything, and there's nothing appearing to happen. So the interaction aspect of it is seen to be as part of the story, because the interaction part of it is the story of he said this and she said that and we did.
Brilliant. Thank you. I have one more question, and I have Gerald. This other question is from Walter. Without a knower, how can anything be known, such as everything is energy and other?
I think we answered that one already, didn't we?
Yes. Sorry.
Well, no, it could be the same question. It could be a different question, but
I think it's a different one.
Again. Yeah. So this is unknowable. I'm not speaking from the sense of somebody who knows something. It's living in the unknown, as in contrast to the sense of somebody as a person. If I feel like a person, there's a living in the known, because I'm living in a loop of my own knowing. So in actuality, what's looked for is just no thing, which is already everything, and that is not. It's so immediately this is not knowable.
Super epic. Go ahead, please, Gerald Dupois, and unmute yourself.
Hey, Kenneth.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, been listening to you for a while, and Tony as well. And it's been tough to peel this onion of the layers and the layers of conditioning this onion has received in its life. And one way that helped me to kind of get into the zone is this idea of energy, that everything, if you think of it scientifically, I guess, everything is energy. So if you have boundless energy, of course, it can allow itself to be a contracted form of energy.
Yeah, absolute freedom allows for the lack of freedom also, and boundlessness. If it's absolute boundlessness, it would also appear as bound. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, so I've been pondering about this boundless energy and this contracted energy for so long. And then just realizing that my body itself is a form of contracted energy. And I guess the easiest way to visualize that is, sorry, my kids are in the back. The way I can visualize it and feel it is that from the boundless energy to the contracted energy, even kind of like my skin or my eyes or my smell or my ears, my senses, is this kind of first border between the boundless energy and the contracted energy.
Yeah, the thing about it is also though there's not a boundless energy and then a contracted energy that are two separate different things. There's only energy, and energy also appears to be bound. So there's only, in the same way that there's only oneness, and oneness appears to be separate. But that's a nice way of looking at it, that all of what's pouring through the senses is kind of being filtered through this me. And when this was first seen by nobody, when it was first seen, and there was no exposure to any language of spiritual or non-dual or any of that, but there was a bit of journaling going on. And when it was first seen, what the first sentence that was written down was, "It feels like a veil has been lifted." And then it was very amusing to me that analogy was used very frequently in all sorts of texts and by all sorts of people, of a veil. And that's very much how it felt. It's like, so there's the senses, there's just hearing, there's speaking, there's hearing, there's anything that's, there's what's being seen. And then when you feel like a person, it feels like it's me that's seeing now, and it's me that's hearing now, and it's me that has a sensation of sitting on the chair. So in that way, it's like as if there's what's pouring through the senses is pouring through this filter or this veil called me. And in the same way then of the veil is that what's being seen is exactly what's being looked for, is already just exactly as it is, but then it's like as if it's been seen through a veil. And then when that veil is no longer, it's very clear that veil was only ever artificial anyway. So it very much, what you said there very much captures that it is already the hearing, it is already it is already whatever's appearing to happen in all the senses.
Oh, thank you.
And any sense that it's happening to you is just an artificial addition. Yeah.
Excellent. That just confirms I'm heading in the right direction.
Oh, you're definitely not heading in the right direction, because
apparently because it's disappearing. It's all disappearing, mate. No more stories.
Yeah, just story. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. There's only aliveness, kids talking, chattering.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Go on. Sorry, Emerson. You go.
Go ahead, Elena. And I have more questions here. Elena, go ahead and unmute yourself. I know you came in earlier, but we're not able to speak. Go ahead.
Hello, Kenneth.
Hi, yeah.
Do you hear me well?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfecto. I even don't know. I guess I know already your answer, but I noticed here, I noticed here very strong resistance.
Yeah.
Every day. And I don't know if it is matter or what, if it's something to be done, but
no, it's nothing to be done. That's just what's appearing to happen then. The me does not, the sense of the person does not like this, what's being said, because it very much speaks of your absence, and the individual wants to be an individual. It doesn't want to be absent. it's the end of the individual. So it's very common for there to be, can be a we think we did speak about this earlier, there can be, well, it can be a real resonance to this and simultaneously a huge resistance.
But in a way we can say in the end, it's no even real and unreal.
You could say that if you wanted to, yeah. You could say it's not real and it's not unreal, or it's real and unreal. You know, it doesn't, it's beyond, it's totally beyond the mind. I mean, the words are just pointing towards something. That's all they can do. It's not like I must have been said 50 times now already. It's not understandable or knowable.
Because I noticed I'm struggling so much. I want to understand this absence. I want to make this absence safe.
How could it be understood? Like how it's not understandable.
It's okay, but why me? It's constantly pushing and pushing and pushing.
That's what's appearing to happen there.
Yeah, I already told you, I know your answer, but thanks.
Oh, do you? That's the difficulty with me. It knows everything.
I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but
I think it might be Kenneth's.
Yeah, it could be mine there, just maybe a little bit unstable for a second.
He's
Did
back.
I miss something?
yeah,
Nothing.
your answer.
Yeah, I think it was there for a second there, yeah. What was the question?
The question. How me can just relax. Just relax and enjoy life because it's nothing to be done. This is the question.
Okay. Well, then you need to go to somebody else then. If you want to know how the me can relax, go somewhere to a teacher who can teach you how to relax. There's any amount of them there. Who would be there to relax?
We might have.
I've got about 5 minutes, Emerson.
5 minutes. Okay. Okay, Kenneth. Thank you so much, Elena.
Before my kids kick that door down.
No problem. I have a couple more questions. Just one last question, and then we'll wrap it up. This is from Norman. So could it be said that what you spoke about amounts to spiritual bypassing?
With spirit, it's just another endeavor that the person does in it for those engaged in it, that they're somehow closer to something that people who are in their, you know, the average person just isn't kind of aware of, or so that's the take on it here. It just very much feeds the person though. So people who are into spirituality, when they hear a clear message, they absolutely hate it. They really do not like what's being said here. Yeah, they usually run a mile. So yeah, spirituality feeds the individual.
Brilliant, Kenneth, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Kenneth. I'm just going to mention that Kenneth has online Zoom meetings. You can go to kennethmadden.net. And then he has book and essays there. There's an about, there's a Zoom meeting link there.
Yeah, the book's on the way. I have some writing on the way, and a book shouldn't be. It's it's been written, been drafted, and some essays. But you get all the information about the sometimes 2 meetings a week, sometimes on a Wednesday as well, but nearly always a Sunday at 9 o'clock. And more recently, in the last few months, 4-hour meetings. So kind of, we're initially calling them residentials, but I don't know if you can call it a residential, but it's kind of an afternoon meeting, about 4 hours long with 2 small breaks. And they will also be up there on the in the website. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I know we talked about the book the last time.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Yeah.
I know. It'll apparently get written, Emerson. Don't you worry.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Kenneth.
To you, Emerson. Thanks a lot. Really.
Yeah, we'll chat soon about what we were talking about before. We were talking about something that we're going to do. But we'll talk about that.
No doubt. Yeah, it'd be great.
I know you're super busy.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody. It was really lovely meeting you.
Thank you. Love you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Both of you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone.
See you, Emerson. Thank you.
Thank you. Before your kid knocks out the door, so I thought
I can hear them out there. I can hear them out there. Like, only so long they can be kept at bay.
Well, thank you so much for this time. I know that you're busy, and we'll see you soon again.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Talk soon, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Thanks.